disgraceful that the intelligence agencies allowed any information that turned out to be so false and fake out. I think it's a disgrace. And I say that, and that's something that Nazi Germany would have done and did do. I think it's a disgrace. That information that was false and fake and never happened got released to the public. As far as BuzzFeed, which is a failing pile of garbage, writing it, I think they're going to suffer the consequences. They already are. And as far as CNN going out of their way to build it up, and by the way, we just found out I was coming down. Michael Cohen is a very talented lawyer. He's a good lawyer in my firm. It was just reported that it wasn't this Michael Cohen they were talking about. So all night long, it's Michael Cohen. I said, I want to see your passport. He brings his passport to my office. I say, hey, wait a minute. He didn't leave the country. He wasn't out of the country. That Michael Cohen of the Trump Organization was in Prague.
Campuses, look at our streets today.
Absolutely. Larry, you didn't even know I was going to bring this up. How about this? Michigan Free Press, April 15th, 1974. Gloria Steinem wrote, overthrowing capitalism is too small for us. We must overthrow the whole patriarchy.
Do you think that you demonized immigrants in this election to try to keep them?
I want them to come into the country, but they have to come in legally. You know, they have to come in through a process. I want it to be a process, and I want people to come in, and we need the people.
Your campaign.
Wait. You know why we need the people, guys? Because we have hundreds of companies moving in. We need the people.
Your campaign had an ad showing migrants climbing over walls and so on.
That's true. But they weren't actors.
They're not going to be doing that.
They weren't actors. Well, no, it's true. Do you think they were actors? They weren't actors. They didn't come from Hollywood. These were people. This was an actual. You know, it happened a few days ago. And
they're hundreds of miles away, though. They're hundreds and hundreds of miles away. That's not an invasion.
Honestly, I think you should let me run the country. You run.
Over the course of the last several days of the campaign, sir, at the end of the campaign, you repeatedly said that Americans need to fear Democrats. You said Democrats would unleash a wave of violent crime that endangers families everywhere. Why?
But what does the Black Lives Matter organization actually stand for? To find out, look no further than their leaders. Alicia Garza, Opal Tometi, and Patrisse Cullors. Here's Cullors in a revealing 2015 interview.
We actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists.
Visit the Black Lives Matter website and read the list of demands to get a sense of how deep a transformation they seek. One of those demands proclaims, quote, we disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement by supporting each other as extended families and villages that collectively care for one another.
Why are you pitting Americans against one another, sir?
Peter, what are you trying to be him?
No, I'm just asking a question.
Let me just tell you. Very simple. Because they're very weak on crime. Because they have often suggested, members and people within the Democrat Party at a high level have suggested getting rid of ICE, getting rid of law enforcement. That establishes a bold, transformative vision of policing in America. Never again should the world be subjected to witnessing what we saw on the streets in Minneapolis, the slow murder of an individual by a uniformed police officer. The world is witnessing the birth of a new movement in our country. This movement has now spread to many nations around the world, with thousands marching to register their horror at hearing the cry, I can't breathe.
change, but transformative change that ends police brutality, that ends racial profiling, and ends the practice of denying Americans the right to have the ability to sue when they have been injured by an officer, that denies local jurisdictions the power to fire or prosecute offending officers.
We cannot settle for anything less than transformative structural change, which is why the Justice in Policing Act will remove barriers to prosecuting police misconduct and cover damages by addressing the quality immunity doctrine. It will demilitarize the police by limiting the transfer of military weaponry to state and local police departments. It will combat police brutality by requiring body and dashboard cameras, manning chokeholds, no-knock warrants, drug cases, and racial profiling. Will finally make lynching a federal hate crime.
My colleagues will explain the Justice in Policing Act proposes crucial reforms to combat racial violence and excessive force by law enforcement through strong accountability measures, increased data and transparency, and important modifications to police training and practices. This has never been done before at the federal level. In the Senate, Democrats are going to fight like hell to make this a reality. Americans who took to the streets this week have demanded change. With this legislation, Democrats are heeding their calls.
Say, like right now. In early June, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser had a massive mural reading Black Lives Matter put in block yellow lettering painted on 16th Street right near the White House. The next day, activists painted another message in that exact same yellow lettering on the same street. It read, "Defund the police," which is, well, not the same thing. Amid the ongoing protests in the wake of the death of George Floyd, calls to defund the police have grown increasingly loud, particularly among the activists who are taking to the streets to urge politicians to act. And in several places, governments are acting. 9 members of the Minneapolis City Council, the city where Floyd died, pledged to, quote, begin the process of ending the Minneapolis Police Department, end quote, in early June. Around that same time, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio announced a plan to repurpose some money designated for law enforcement to more community-focused policing. He tweeted this about that, quote, "This morning we committed to move resources from the NYPD to Youth and Social Services as part of our city's budget. Our young people need to be reached, not policed. We can do this and keep our city safe."
Mayor Jacob Fry answered he didn't support the full abolition of MPD, and before he could finish, later,
We can't be certain, but it's hard to believe this radical agenda is what most signed up for when they made that hashtag Black Lives Matter social media post.
But that's not going to happen, okay? We want to be strong on the borders. We want to be strong on law enforcement, and I want to cherish ICE because ICE does a fantastic job. So what they do for us is it's so unrecognized how good a job they do. So we want to take care of them, and we want to hold them very close because they do a good job.
But the question, to be clear, though, the question
Thank you very much.
Why are you
sit down?
But the question, but you didn't answer my question. Just very simply, the question is, why are you pitting Americans against one another, sir?
I'm not.
Is that how you view citizens of this country?
I'll tell you what. We won a lot of elections last night. We did very well last night, and
but in many ways,
I think it's going to have a very positive impact. I watched NBC this morning. They didn't report it exactly correctly, but that's very, very. That's the fact with NBC. Nothing I can do about that. But I want this country to have protection. We want security in our country. I want security, Peter. I mean, you maybe don't think it's so important, and I think when you don't have it, you are indeed unleashing crime. I feel that.
Just fool me once. Shame on him.